Alright, good morning. Rich Van Tassel here with you on the Rich Van Tassel channel, giving you the weekly NBA report for today, Tuesday, February 23rd, 2016. Starting in the Eastern Conference, things at the top are essentially holding as they have. Cleveland has the three-game lead over the Toronto Raptors. Cleveland actually lost last night, broke a winning streak they were on. They were playing very well, had some quality wins. Lost a tough one, though, to Detroit last night. It was the second night of a back-to-back. They had played the Oklahoma City Thunder the day before in a nationally televised game. So coming back home to play after being in Oklahoma City, certainly you can expect a loss in that situation. The Toronto Raptors had been skidding a bit. They are on a two-game winning streak, though. They're still second, 3 games back of the Cleveland Cavaliers. The closest teams after that are the Miami Heat, who are playing very well without Dwayne Wade and Chris Bosh. We'll have to see what was going to happen with Chris Bosh. He's having, again, problems with blood clots in his lungs. We wish him all the best. Hopefully he can come back. And the Boston Celtics, both are 5.5 games back. The Miami Heat, though, at 32 and 24, are percentage points ahead of the Boston Celtics with 33 and 25. Celtics have lost 2 of their last 3 on a West Coast road trip. Had a terrible loss to Minnesota last night. And the loss to Utah wasn't much better because they were sluggish coming out of the All-Star break. Can't have that. And then, teams 5 through 8, essentially where they've been. You have the Chicago Bulls, of course, at 8. They've really been sliding with injuries. They've been able to win 2 straight to get themselves back on track. And the Charlotte Hornets at 7th have replaced the Detroit Pistons, who got the win to break what was a 5-game losing streak going into last night. We said they beat the Cleveland Cavaliers. Charlotte, though, winners of 5 straight, are up to the 7th seed at 29 and 26, tied with the Chicago Bulls, though those two teams at 7 and 8. Indiana off a loss last night to Miami in overtime, right around where they've been, and Atlanta is the team that's really sliding. They've lost 3 straight games, lost last night to the Golden State Warriors. This was a team that was looking to trade a lot of their players. We had discussed how I don't like that. I don't like a team that's competitive, a team that won 60 games last year, to start just selling off all its parts. They didn't do it, so you would expect that they're going to try to win. They have nothing else to do at this point. I don't think you would go from a playoff team to tanking without trading any of the key players. But you never know in the NBA. Sometimes teams just decide that, well, we may not have any chance to win the championship, so we're not going to try to do anything at all, and we're just going to lose the rest of the way. So we're going to keep an eye on the Atlanta Hawks and see what they do. But it's really something I think the NBA needs to address. It's part of the tanking situation, and just as overall mindset in the NBA. Well, if we can't win the title, then we might as well not make the playoffs, and blah blah blah. We'll just trade all our guys away. It's really disappointing to see what's going on with the Atlanta Hawks. The Washington Wizards, they had to play 3 straight because they were making up for that blizzard on the East Coast. On Thursday night, they played the Utah Jazz. Then Friday and Saturday they had the night off. The past 2 nights, they were able to win 2 out of those 3. They're 25 and 29, 3.5 games behind Charlotte and Chicago for those last 2 playoff spots. This was the team again we're likely going to keep our eye on, as well as the Milwaukee Bucks. They are now 6 games out at 24 and 33. They've won 2 straight. Washington is minus 2.4 on their differential. Milwaukee is minus 4.3. Again, will any of these teams make the playoffs? If I had to choose, I would say Washington is probably going to get in. But those were 2 teams I wanted to keep an eye on when we discuss what to look for coming out of the All-Star break. Knicks continue to plummet, and then Brooklyn and Philadelphia, of course, rounding out the bottom. In the Western Conference, of course, you have the Golden State Warriors still at the top. They are 50 and 5. They would have to go 23 and 4 in the remaining 27 to break the Chicago Bulls record. 25 and 2 to get to 75 wins. So we'll see what they can do the rest of the way, but they're continuing to cruise. They had a game where they got blown out. Looked like they just weren't focused against the Portland Trail Blazers. Damian Lillard dropped 51 points. We'll get into the Blazers in just a bit. Were able to respond, though, the next night and beat the Clippers on the road and back-to-back. And then they beat the Atlanta Hawks last night. San Antonio, of course, 47-9. They're keeping as close as they can to the Warriors, but it's tough to keep up to a team that's 50 and 5 and winning almost 91% of its games. Oklahoma City has lost 2 straight. They lost 1 to Cleveland. They also lost 1 to Indiana, 2 teams that are in the playoff picture in the East. But they both lost both those games at home. That's a little surprising for an Oklahoma City team that was 25 and 5 going into those 2 games at home, are now 25 and 7. Los Angeles Clippers, They're 37-19, continuing to play well without Blake Griffin, plus 4.7 in their differential. They have a 4.5 game lead over the Memphis Grizzlies. I was reading on ESPN that possibly the Grizzlies would look to just give up and abandon on the rest of their season. They did trade Jeff Green and Courtney Lee. I'm a little surprised. Again, this is the same situation with an Atlanta team. You would really have to just completely abandon your season for this team to fall out of the playoffs. They're 5 games on top of what the ninth place team is, the Utah Jazz. That's to get out of it. Look, I understand that this team likely cannot win the championship without Marc Gasol, so you still go to the playoffs, you still play, and you still be professional. I don't understand. Again, things that the NBA, it's a very tough situation to address. You don't know exactly how they do it, but it's something that really bothers me about the league. Dallas Mavericks, they're 4-6 in the last 10, down to 30-27. This is a team that quietly has been slipping of late. They got off to a hot start and they're really starting to come back to earth. Let's see if they are able to hold on to the playoff spot the rest of the way. They're 6th in the Western Conference. Portland Trailblazers, we discussed them. They've won 5 straight to get to 29-27. Damian Lillard has been playing very well. This is the team people were not expecting a lot out of coming into the season. However, they are 18-11 at home, but only 11-16 on the road. So that's really what's killing them. They're going to have to win more road games. But the 5-game win streak, 9-1 in their last 10. Let's see how long they can keep this up, because it took all that energy just to get them to 29-27 in the 7th spot in the Western Conference. Houston Rockets, they're 28-28. Have only played 1 game since the All-Star break, which they won. Still minus 1.5 points in their differential. We're going to see how this team is going to respond the rest of the way. Again, there's a lot riding on this season for them. They did not trade Dwight Howard. They didn't even get to trade Domantas Montiunas because that trade was rescinded because he failed either his physical or whatever his lingering injuries were prevented him from being moved. So they didn't trade anyone. They've got the roster they have, and it's up to them to make something out of it for the rest of the season. Again, this is a team that's only 4.5 games out of the 5th spot, where they could play the Clippers in the first round. So they can certainly climb, but they're going to have to start doing it fast. Utah Jazz, 27-28. They've lost 1. Sacramento Kings able to win 2 straight. They are 4 games out. Excuse me. They're 4 games out of the 8th spot. 23-31. The Pelicans are 5.5 games. They're 22-33. Anthony Davis had a big game. They've won 2 straight. Again, for New Orleans, by the time they get to the 35th loss, they at least have to have, I'd say, 26 wins. That would be a 4-2 stretch. By the time they get to 38 losses, they'd have to have at least 30 wins and then really make a run at that point. If they were at 30-38, let's just say, that'd be 14 games left. You'd have to go 11-3 to get to 500. But the 8th-spot team, the Houston Rockets, are 500, so there's certainly possibility. They've got to start moving, though, and quickly. Denver Nuggets, 22-34. I suppose if I'm going to say New Orleans has a chance, then Denver also has a chance as well, but highly unlikely. Excuse me. Minnesota, Phoenix, and Los Angeles, of course, are bad teams this year. Phoenix has lost 12 straight games. Okay, your power rankings, of course, Golden State number 1, 50-5. They continue to impress, especially coming off that bad loss in Portland and winning the next 2 games, winning exactly the next night against the quality Clipper team. San Antonio number 2, 47-9. Cleveland has gotten themselves back up to the 3rd spot despite the loss last night. They did beat Oklahoma City. I'm going to have 4th. And then the 5th place team, tough one. Miami has been playing very well, won 3 straight games. Portland with 5 straight games. You can't really put them up there because of the record. So number 5, going to have to leave it with the Toronto Raptors at 37-18. You could look at the Clippers as well, but they have a better record than those 2 teams. When I was talking about the Miami Heat and the Portland Trailblazers, I'm looking at teams that are hot, that could possibly disrupt what I've been having, the top 5 power rankings, but the Toronto Raptors still have it. So there's your power rankings. Golden State Warriors 1, San Antonio Spurs 2, Cleveland Cavaliers 3, Oklahoma City 4, and the Toronto Raptors 5. Alright, so that is your weekly NBA report for Tuesday, February 23rd, 2016. Be sure to stay tuned for any flash news alerts the rest of the week, and join us on the radio, 90.5 HD3 Brookdale Student Radio on Friday, 3 to 4 Eastern Time. And remember, subscriptions are always appreciated. Thank you very much.